What did you guys all think about number guessing game and using JavaScript interacting with HTML? Is it pretty straightforward? Was it a little difficult? Like which methods to use, how to grab certain DOM nodes, grabbing elements? Anybody have any input?
I guess it was just kind of weird kind of jumping script back into JavaScript after doing Python or something.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, early on in the course, we focus on JavaScript, or I'm sorry, Python and JavaScript, but like want to get you really into Python because like throughout your pre-work and everything, you kind of really focus on JavaScript. You really don't touch Python. So you really want to like nail down Python because Django is all in Python. Yeah, that's where we're going to be writing them.
For sure.
But it's we do the context switch every few weeks. But this week, it's all about JavaScript, HTML, front end, interacting with web pages, and JavaScript is the language of the web. So that's why we're kind of focusing on JavaScript. Any other comments? Anything more difficult than you thought originally?
Well, I used the document.getElementById, and I was struggling why I kept getting multiplier, like for my return value, and it was because I was using classes in my HTML side. I thought that was kind of frustrating.
Yeah. So yeah, Val was saying it was he was using document.getElementById, but it was always returning a null value or an undefined value, and it came to realize that in his HTML he was utilizing classes versus like the ID. All right. So in this game, it's literally just a relatively simple how to like manipulate the DOM, add elements to the DOM, add nodes to the DOM with numbers. If you actually got down to writing functions and create element, create text node, append child. So I'm gonna fork this over. What can you see on the screen? I just want to make sure. Yeah. Git clone. So I'm in my desktop kilo challenges, git clone, Tom Preet number guessing game. Number guessing game. So I have 3 files. Actually, I have index, HTML, styles. This is where we write all our CSS. We already have some boilerplate code in here. We have our app.js, which we have a console log in there. Actually. And here in our HTML file, we have our head. Where's my HTML? Isn't there usually like an HTML tag, or is that?
Yeah, right at the top.
Is it just this?
HTML, yeah.
Okay.
HTML5.
Oh, cool. That's probably the boilerplate.
I didn't say
Yeah, and that's okay if you don't, but like when you do create a blank HTML file, you can't just do like that, or HTML that. So let's stick with the boilerplate. Let's open this up, ls cd number guessing game, bring this up here, list everything out. We have our app.js, which is where all our JavaScript is going to go, our index.html, which is where all our HTML tags, and then our CSS is where all our CSS is going to go. So I'm going to open index.html. Let's hopefully we don't get an error. We got an error. Still haven't figured that one out. Let's fix that. Desktop. Kilo challenges. Number guessing game. There we go. So in here we have, let's play a number guessing game. In our nav, we have a nav tag with an H1 tag. It says number guessing game. You can also inspect. It's like Command Option I, Command Option J. And Command Option J automatically opens it to the console. Command Option I think, just opens it to the last previous thing you're in. So here is we can inspect the DOM, which is the document object model. We'll get into that today. And we can have, here's our nav, and here is our number guessing game text. Now I want to import our style sheets into our HTML. Justin, how do I do that? Where do I import our styles sheets into our HTML?
In the head.
In the
in
head.
the head tag. So.
So right here, so this is a tag that doesn't require a closing tag. So like in here with script, or like body, it's got a accompanying closing tag with /body. Link is a tag that doesn't require a closing tag. So in this href, this is where we'll put our styles.css. Let's look that. There we go. So those styles in our style sheet. Our body references our H1, font weight 400. That's like bold. If I do like 800, I don't even know if that does anything. There we go. It's like bold now. In most style sheets, you'll have a default body style that just kind of defaults to everything in the entire application within the body, like font family, Helvetica New, sans serif, font weight, text align, etc. Now I need to load my, well, before we load any JavaScript, let's go ahead and build out this HTML. We need, we're going to create a div, a paragraph that says like input, or sorry, guess a number 1 through 100. Save it. Guess a number 1 through 100. And the reason why it's centered is because everything within the body tag, which encapsulates everything from here to here, is centered.
So much easier than setting it.
So if I looked at it or refresh it, now nothing's centered. But if I want everything within the body to be centered, because that's just the way my application is going to work, I can just text align center. All right. Next, I want to create another div paragraph that says input a number below and click submit number. So I'm going to have a button that actually says like submit number. I save it, come back, input a number below and click submit number. Now I need to import, or I need to be able to accept the user's input. I'm going to create another div, like separating things out by divs, just so they're all stacked on top of one another for ease of use for the user. Now, what tag do I use to grab a user's input?
Form, but
Okay. So I heard form. What does form do?
form allows you to make, I mean, it would be a text box, right? So you could
So
You can create a form and multiple labels and use form submission thing, but that's more like using post.
why? Yeah. So form HTML. The form element defines a form that is used to collect user input. Input element is the most important form element. So if you want to accept multiple users' inputs and like have a submit button, the form is generally what you want to do. And if you did use a form for this, good job. You might have encountered some weird behavior when you're clicking submit, and it might automatically refresh. And if you want to have persistence throughout your web page, if you refresh, that means everything's loaded again. That means you lose data that you wanted to initially persist. Only for this application. But if you use form, good. That's good. But I heard someone say input. Let's create an input. And does an input, I don't know how an input tag works. Let's look at that. Input HTML. Input tag. Anything. So I see an input tag also doesn't have a closing tag. Input, the type text, okay, name, first name. So I'm just gonna refresh this and see what it looks like to see if I can mess with any attributes. Okay, I don't, weird. What if I did input text, input number, if I wanted like a placeholder, like I want to say like input number or something like that. Does an input tag have that tag placeholder? Oh, cool. It looks like. I'm going to put a placeholder in here. Instead of first name, I'm going to put like example 50. Oh, cool. All right. Next, I'm going to create a button. Oh. So would it be number? So if I do a number,
that only takes a number then too, so you can't put
that with numbers. Yeah, there's multiple ways to do this. I don't like this thing here. That's annoying. So I'm going to keep it as text, and then maybe in my JavaScript, I can do some error handling. Say like type, I can change it to a number if I want to include error handling. If you did, good on you. I'm just going to do the bare bones basic except number. Just assume they're going to type in a number. Well, maybe we'll check it out. Now I need a submit button. So we kind of did submit buttons, or like submit number, because I want to input a number below and click submit number. So, so the number, it's weird. Okay. And then
it's totally fine. Like a lot of this stuff, you're just creating all these separate divs, but we could stack a bunch of these with the same div. So
yeah, there's multiple ways to do this. It's also like, this is supposed to like spark your like, hey, you can go crazy with it. We've had people like, once they select a number, like an image comes on the screen and like a dancing GIF comes on. It's like all kinds of stuff. So JavaScript, CSS file, add styles, and app.js to script file. I'm just getting the basic architecture of the HTML file. All right. Cool. I think that's kind of all we need right now. Now we need to, let's do some style. Okay. Make it work first. Remember, make it work first and then go back and pretty it up. let's go ahead and do that. So now I need to link my JavaScript to my HTML. And your JavaScript goes into your script tag. And the source is the path to the file you want to load, app.js. So it's in the same file. What does this async defer do, or what's this defer do? Ian, do you know what's the defer attribute on the script tag? Ian?
Oh, sorry, audio was muted. So if I'm reading it correctly, I think it only loads it when it's on the page and it's actually being used. Is that correct?
Yeah, so historically, people would put their script tag all the way at the bottom of your body because they wanted everything, your HTML to load first, and then once it gets down to here, then load your JavaScript. But with the async defer attribute, it defers and makes sure that HTML loads and is like mounted on the DOM, and then it loads the JavaScript. So you're able to keep it in the head.
Are async and defer two separate?
Async means like try. I believe it means try to load everything asynchronously, if you can.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What is defer?
Defer means load the JavaScript after all the HTML is loaded on the screen, and then run the JavaScript file. Because you don't want to load the JavaScript file and like manipulate the DOM before the DOM's even mounted. So if you're doing some sort of DOM manipulation in the JavaScript file before these tags show up on the screen, then it could mess up. Get like an error or something. All right. So let's load this. All right. In our app.js, we have hello Kilo Platoon. And now in our console, we have shows up hello Kilo Platoon. So we know we loaded it correctly. Now we're going to do all our logic in app.js. So we need to guess a number between 1 through 100. So the first thing we need to do in our application, we have to generate a number between 1 and 100. So I'm going to random number. Is that random? Random number. Creating a random number variable, assigning it to 0. And then I'm going to create a function that says pick random number. Doesn't take in any random number equals math.floor math.random times 101. So we want it to include 100. I'm just going to console log random number, but I also want to return it. Return random number. So let's see what happens. Okay, it's not console logging the random number. Can anybody see in my code why it's not console logging the random number? I'm not doing anything to. I'm not calling the function. I'm not invoking it. Great. So pick random number. So I created a function. Now I actually have to invoke it for this to run. Let's refresh it. There's my random number. 23, 82, 37. Cool. Fun stuff. Yeah. Now I want to be able to type in something in the input and submit it. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. So I want to submit the button. Let's create some ID. So, because I want to grab this element. So I want to be like documents.get element by ID, and then do something to it. But I don't have an ID to choose from. So for my submit button, I want to create an ID called submit button. It's pretty straightforward. Submit button. And let's just check that. So in the console, you can manipulate, you can run JavaScript in the console that manipulates the DOM. So I'm going to do document.get element by ID. There's alert me, submit button. Cool. So there's my HTML node, button ID, submit button. Cool. Now I want to add an event to it. Like I know people, there's a couple ways you can do this. I'm going to do it all via JavaScript. I don't want to do anything in HTML just because I just don't want to. But submit button, and I want to add an event to it, .onClick. So there's this thing, there's events that you can do, add to certain elements called like events, and one of them is an onClick event. So onClick, I'm going to run a function. If you didn't do it like this, there's definitely more efficient ways to do this. You can put an onClick event handler in here, because I know button has one, and execute a function, execute some function. And then your function would be in here. So actually,
Is there preferred method?
probably this. So I'm gonna actually do something. I'm gonna, instead of execute, I'm gonna do pick a run. Like I don't know why, I just wanna pick random number. So on this button, I'm deviating from the actual. So there's this onClick event that button has. It's an attribute. And it executes a function. And I'm executing this pick random number. So it's that, oh, 0, interesting. So if I click this button, it should execute that pick random number function again. But you're able to do onClick events like that. But if you don't want to add onClick events in your HTML, you can add onClick events in here, console log button clicked.
Is there like a best practice for that? Like why one might be better, or is it kind of cleaner to have it all in JavaScript?
I just did it in JavaScript because I just wanted to do everything in JavaScript right now. But when we get to React and JSX, which is essentially like very similar to HTML, you're going to put your onClick events in here, but it's going to be a capital click. So it's going to be like this. And this is where you're going to execute functions. Your onClick events will be inline, or they will be attributes to your tags. That's best practice in React. So we'll get to that. And so in here, I'm adding an onClick event to this button. I'm going to refresh. It says button clicked. But in here, I want to grab the button. I want to grab this input value. Like I want to grab like 50. When I click this button, I want it to say 50 right here. I want to console log 50. So I can just gonna get like number equals. I want to grab this element. How do I do that? So I've got name. I grab, I'm gonna do this get element by ID again. Get element by ID, input number. So in here, I don't have an input number ID. ID equals input number. And I'm gonna console log number. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, whoops. So I got 50. And when I submit the button, uncaught reference, get element by ID is not defined, HTML document on click, app.js. So this is an error. This is how you read errors in the console or front end errors. App.js line 13. Oh, documents. So document.get element by ID. Let's refresh. 50. Okay, it gives me that entire input. I don't want that. What else do we have? We have on click, on mouse, on a bunch of ons, R, QRST. Oh, wow. What if I do value? I want to grab this value. If I do 50, there we go. Cool. So I grab this value. Now, what do I want to do with it? I want to compare it with the random number. Should I change it to a number first? Or can I do relative, like compare by type?
Just 2 equals.
2 equals. Right, so if I just want to compare it by value and not by type, I can just do double equals, right?
Yeah.
So if number equals random number, what should it say? Like console log U1,
Nailed it.
else if console, else if number is less than random number, return, or let's just console log right now. Console log, guess, let's say, yeah, pick a higher number, else console log, pick a lower number. See what that does. 50, pick a lower number because 35 is my random generally, but now like, okay, but I don't want to have to like delete like 35. Let's do 34 to see what it does. 34, pick a higher number. What was it, 35? U1. Almost there, but I don't like how it stays. I don't like how this value stays in here after I submit it. So what if we do let reset equals document dot get element by ID, input number dot value equals empty string.
Give a space
What?
between value and
You sure?
so.
Oh, thank you. Then if it's lower, I just want to return reset. Return reset. See what that does. So I've got this reset variable that grabs the input number and sets the value to an empty string. So 90, I guess 50, there, cool. Sets it to an empty string. So great. But now I want to know, I want to list. This is where it gets kind of hard. I want to list all my previous numbers that I guessed, like down below somewhere or something like that. So how to add new HTML to page. I don't know how to even Google that. To insert a link, creating links, add pages. All right, I've got this HTML create element method. Keep looking. Document.create element followed by all capital. So this is how it creates a button called button. I do name of the node dot inner HTML equals click me, and then document dot body append child. Don't know what the hell that means. Append child HTML. So this is kind of all right. Document create element a list. Then text node document create text node water node append child text node. Jesus. Document get element by ID. So this can be like any element on the page with an ID of my list. I can append the child node. So creates a list, creates a text node, appends the text to the list. Cool. This is like what I want. I'm just gonna copy this over. Let's just create a list of numbers.
I cheated.
It's not cheating. It's just yeah. All right, I'm creating. Creating a list. I'm just gonna do this. All right, create a list. Create a text node. I like these vars. Let's do that. Node, text node, list. Create a text node. But I don't, what's the text node? Would this be the number? Node, append child, and document.get element by ID, my list. So I need to create a list. Under here, I'm just gonna do, there's ordered lists and unordered lists. Let's do an unordered list. What did I do? It's just like number list. ID equals number list. So creating an element. I'm creating a node, a list node. I'm adding text to that list node, or I'm actually creating a text node, passing in the number that I guessed. So let's just console log. Well, let's see what that looks like. And then I'm appending the text node to the newly created list node. Then I'm document.get element by ID. That's wrong. My number list, appending this child using the append child built-in method. I'm appending this newly created list node that has this text node of the number. I don't know if that's gonna work. Refresh. 50. All right, oh wow, cool. Now what if I do it again? Do 45. Oh, nice. 60. 75. And enter what? Oh, like when you actually click enter? You can, if you want to do that. I did not do that.
I tried doing it.
I know, yeah. I just want to keep it as bare bones as possible. Yeah, enter is weird sometimes. I've had issues with it when I've tried to do it in React. But I've done it before. I've solved it in some manner. 70, enter. But instead of it says input a number, I also want to change it to say, like, instead of in the console, I want it to tell the user to pick a number.
Or higher.
Yeah, higher or lower. So in here, guess a number 1 through 100. Where did I do it? Game action. So input a number below, click submit. I'm gonna do an ID of game, because it's telling me what to do. It's a game action. Then in here, instead of U1, I want to say document.get element by ID, game action dot inner HTML equals is U1. I guess I can always return reset. Then in here, instead of pick a higher number, pick a lower number. Let's get rid of these console logs. We don't need them anymore. Do I have any more console logs in here? I'm gonna refresh it. 50, submit, pick a higher number, 99, pick a lower number. It's actually peek at what it is, 81, 81, 81.
Is there supposed to be the bullet points right there?
It's because it's a order. I created a list, and the list element or the list tag, list HTML. There's an ordered list or an unordered list, which I have in my HTML right here with this unordered list. It's just an empty list right now, and I'm appending stuff. I'm appending the list nodes to this number list, so it has these bullet points. If I want to do an ordered list, I can just change this.
Will that put numbers instead of bullet points?
Yeah, 0 OL. If I refresh it, 50, 1. So, and you can get rid of those if you want. That's just all done in CSS that you can do.
Oh, you would just hide them?
You would, yeah, you'd be like, what is it?
It's the adding inline start.
Padding inline start.
Yeah, you set that to 0. And there's CSS. You just throw it into your styles, CSS or file.
Did anybody use persistence? So if you refresh it, it like still stores your numbers. Just wondering. We'll get into that today. So that is how to, that's like the number guessing game, bare bones. There's multiple ways to do it. If you used on clicks here and executed a function to actually grab the number. If you used a form, like instead of here, like form, and incorporated the button within the form, like that works. So like using a form and enter, that's kind of how it works. But notice how every time you form, it automatically refreshes. There's multiple ways to do it. But
So what's the advantage of form? I thought you needed
For multiple.
yeah, it's like generally for multiple inputs. And there's like multiple ways to do it. You don't have to have your button within the form. You can
There's things you can
give your
add.
form a name and associate that button to this form by the name. And there's like a bunch of different stuff you can do.
Associate labels with inputs.
Yeah. Forms are,
Post.
you can get, yeah, and when you're actually doing form and like doing post and put requests or get requests, use forms with that.
Time question.
Yeah.
You use that reset thing, and I've not seen like the double like equals before.
Oh,
And that and get element seems like you're pulling something as opposed to pushing it. Get element by ID and your said return reset. Like I see how you did it. It just feels like a little bit disjointed, or I don't really understand what's like happening there to get to push blank back to
so
the input field.
this value is literally just, so you don't, like this part?
Yeah, I guess like get element by ID. Like I think that just feels like it's a reading action, and but you're pushing it back.
So I'm just grabbing that element by its ID, and then I'm grabbing that specific value there, and I'm actually making it equal to something.
Yeah, so you're defining a variable.
Yeah, correct. So if I actually,
So when you say return reset, like how does that link back and make how's that plumbing work there?
so this is literally kind of me doing return that. Because every function needs to return something. That's kind of how I want. So how does this?
It's grabbing the number and then changing it to nothing, right?
Yeah. So like here's the actual. I'm grabbing this value, which is 50 or whatever the input is, and that's what that is. Now I need to reset it to 0 or like nothing.
So that way the 60 doesn't just sit in the box there. It's
So-
just means
Yeah.
over and over, right?
Sorry, I get it. So I guess just adding dot value and an equals is like using an inner HTML, like you're sending it back as opposed to.
Just you're grabbing that the value in that box specifically.
I know it's doing. All right, cool.
Let's look at some pull requests. We got 5 pull requests. Uh-oh.
You pretty much just saw it. So
What?
mine,
Was that what
I
yours?
basically did the same.
All right. I'm gonna
Canadians, they got
let's go with Rich's. Rich, do you mind if I look at yours?
Yeah, that's fine. It's
3D.
not completely finished, but
Does it work?
yeah, it works.
Is it pretty?
No.
I mean, it doesn't make confetti.
Number. We got a server in there. We got text folder. So I'm gonna open index. It's gonna give me that. Of course, why wouldn't it? Deal challenges. Ooh.
Yeah, it didn't look like that before.
It didn't look like this before?
No. If you run the server with Node, it should.
Run the server. Oh, no. So in here, oh, clear, just npm run,
I just used Node server.js.
node server.js. So I just have to visit here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Command option. Open. Feather. Play. Oh, snap. 50. Submit. Too high, guess a lower number, 25. Guess a lower number, what's it, 13. Jeez, 7. Oh, nice.
Give up.
So it does it persist? No.
No, it doesn't. but if you give up, it doesn't clear the previous guesses.
I gotcha. Nice. Cool. Any questions about manipulating HTML with JavaScript? There's a bunch of methods that I don't even like. You'll never know all of them. You're not expected to memorize them all. Just know that JavaScript can manipulate the DOM.
Can you or Richard explain the whole server thing?
What about it?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Why did you do that versus just?
Because like whenever I tried to open Chrome to use it, it would give me the same error that Tom was getting. So I'm kind of used to using Node server for little sites to like test, and that makes it easier. And then if you go in the terminal, it tells you like what files you're looking for, so it helps me to troubleshoot.